My perspective, I believe, will be at cross purposes with many of the consultants and academics who are present here today. And I think from hearing Mr. Stalin right now, definitely at cross purposes with Mr. Stalin. I'm here to provide the perspective of a project proponent specifically in the real estate industry and in Mumbai. So at the outset, I'd like to clarify something that I consider Mumbai to very much be a unique situation. I consider Mumbai to always be an exception to the rule. And I consider the development of Mumbai to have its own agenda. At the same time, the need for increased awareness and increased consciousness for environmental issues, especially on the industrial side, and especially on development in existing greenfield areas, which are not already urban, which are not already fully developed, is absolutely critical for the long-term future, not just of our generation, but the generations to come. Having said all of that, I am, with the limited experience that I have, I've experienced it firsthand that the way CRZ regulations and environmental regulations are currently drafted, designed, and implemented for Mumbai in particular is causing absolute retardation of development with no protection of the environment. So we are neither achieving the objective of the regulations, nor are we allowing development to happen at the pace and with the systematic approach that this city requires and eventually this entire nation requires. I'd like to give you all a few examples, and my perspective is going to be specifically legal, because as a project proponent, I know that we face a lot of specific legal complexities and challenges, and the practical issues that result during the life of a project. So let's take the example of the CRZ regulation as it is, or the CRZ notification as it has existed for Mumbai. I'm not sure how many of you all know this. I'm sure many of my senior respected consultants will. So I'll just take you all back for 2 minutes into the genesis of CRZ in India and therefore for Mumbai. So on the 19th of February 1991, a little known department at that point sitting in New Delhi promulgated the CRZ notification 1991. Was there a reaction in Mumbai? Was there an understanding of this in Mumbai? Was there an observation that this has happened for Mumbai? No. And coincidentally, 2 days later, on 21st February 1991, a new development control regulation for the city of Mumbai was promulgated. It so happened, unfortunately for the city, I believe, that it was signed into existence 2 days after the promulgation of the CRZ notification. However, that development control regulation was under drafting since the late 1980s. A final draft DCR had been submitted in the year 1989, and then for various bureaucratic reasons, it was delayed up until the 21st of February 1991. Now, what is interesting for me is that that 2-day gap, that 48 hours between the 19th of February 1991 and the 21st of February 1991 have been used post facto for the last 20 years to retard the development of Mumbai, number one, and number two, to create this farcical situation that we all today live as Mumbaikars. A farcical situation in which our local town and country planning norms, as they are updated, as they are developed by our esteemed members of the Urban Development Department and by the corporation, by way of a development plan, by way of amendments to the development control regulations, are not implemented in vast parts of the city all along the coast. Now, how many of us in the audience are from Mumbai? Can I just have a show of hands? We all live here. I mean, is there any question of the coast not being a part of our lives? Is there any question of Mumbai, which was already fully developed prior to the creation of any CRZ notification, already fully developed, already fully urban, fully built up? Today we have a situation where there is a 500-meter line, and if I happen to live on this side of that 500-meter line, then a 45-year-old regulation will apply to me, and if I happen to live on this side of the line, then the rules as our government today would like to promulgate will apply to me. How can this situation be allowed to occur without someone realizing that we are not only achieving any environmental goals, we are not protecting the coast for sure, but at the same time we are creating this farcical town planning situation as well. On this point, because Shri Stalin mentioned the word unconstitutional for the exception to Mumbai, has anyone realized how unconstitutional it is for a CRZ notification, not an act, So it's not a direct act of parliament, but it's a delegated notification issued under an act to comment on and to restrict the development of a city within a state under the principle of the union list of legislature and the state list of legislature. Local town and country planning norms fall squarely within the responsibility and the ambit and the jurisdiction of the state government and local town and planning authorities. MOEF sitting in New Delhi has absolutely nothing to do with it. And the fact that under the guise of a coastal regulation zone, you wish to restrict the town and country planning norms that are applicable to Mumbai is utterly and totally unconstitutional. And as citizens of Mumbai, it is our responsibility to make sure that this kind of a situation sitting in Delhi, which happens to be a landlocked city, by the way, for them to sit and comment on CRZ notifications, it cannot be acceptable. Now, from the perspective again of a project proponent, I'd like to explain to this audience something, and I hope that at some point this gets out there. We are not anti-environment. We are not anti the protection of our beautiful coastline. And we are definitely not anti the government itself or anti the law. We're all citizens of this country. We all understand that following existing norms, following existing rules is what makes us a part of civilized society. Otherwise, we will have nothing but anarchy. However, what has happened in the last 5 or 10 years under the guise of environmental regulations is that our rights, our projects, our economic interests are being severely hampered only under the guise of some form of environmental protection and not for true environmental protection. Now, what this does is, from a project proponent's perspective, like myself, now I'm young, I've been educated, I understand the value of environmental protection. And at the same time, when I'm looking at it from my project's perspective, I know on the basis of the way these EIA, the environmental impact assessment reports are created, and the actual bureaucracy that surrounds the acquisition of environmental clearance, I know that I will not be contributing to environmental protection whatsoever. But at the same time, I do know that my project is suffering for the last 3 years because I have not received environmental clearance for one reason or another. I heard in the previous panel, I think the respected gentleman sitting in the first row mentioned this idea of a regional clearance or a larger clearance for an entire region so that the environmental impact assessment of the development that is planned or forecasted for the entire region is assessed rather than for individual projects. Now, I found that to be a very interesting suggestion for only one reason, that do we really have time to get into an environmental impact assessment report for individual projects? Can mitigational steps be taken at the level of individual projects? Should this not in fact be a part of the process by which a development plan for Mumbai itself is created? Instead, we create extra layers of bureaucracy. We create extra committees. We love committees. You know, as a project proponent, I've realized we absolutely love committees as a society. So long as something has gone to a committee, I'm sure it's fine now. Boss, what are these committees doing? These committees, for example, the MCZMA. Now, I'm not critical of anyone for the simple reason that I know at the end of the day, there are good people who are in these committees. At the same time, the jurisdiction of a committee will be X, the topic being discussed will be Y. And what is that Y? For the last 5 years, I've realized that it seems no matter what department you are in this government, the word FSI has to be discussed. If one does not discuss FSI, one has not done one's job. Now, in this kind of a situation, and I've just listed here for you all to know from my perspective, MPCB, SEAC, SEIAA, MCZMA, UDD, MCGM, High Rise Committee, CFO. I mean, the list of approvals that I need to get to deliver one project to my clients in Mumbai has become impossible for me to do business. This is the situation that we are creating. And at the same time, have we protected the environment? No. As Mumbaikars in the last 20 years, has my environment improved or gotten worse? I remember as a child growing up in this city, I could look up in the sky and see stars. This is an honest truth. I could look up in the sky and see stars. Today, I look up in the sky, out of 365 days, I'll be able to see stars in 5 nights. I can visibly see smog in my city today. Has the real estate industry in Mumbai created that smog? Or have the significant industrial zones around the city created that smog and the increased pollution from automobiles created that smog? Today, the real estate industry has been vilified. The assumption is that we are criminals. The assumption is that we have no respect for the law. The assumption is that our projects will only be feasible and viable if we violate the law. That's not the case. We do not enjoy living and operating in an industry of constant fear now. Fear from environmental activists, fear from RTI activists, fear from the state government, fear from the bureaucrats, and fear from the politicians. I have come to the conclusion over the last 5 years that perhaps Mumbai doesn't want homes, perhaps Mumbai doesn't want offices. Because from the media onwards, everyone's agenda is to find a way to block real estate development. Fine, do we not need homes? If there are so many unsold homes already present, if there is existing housing stock that more than caters to our city's requirements, why is there a need for development? Also, respected Mr. Stalin mentioned the new modus operandi has become the creation of slums in coastal areas. I'd like to bring up one more point just from the perspective of my natural rights as a citizen of India. Now, unfortunately, under the Constitution, the right to property is no longer a fundamental right. It is simply a constitutional right. This was a change that occurred post-independence. I accept it. But it is still a constitutional right. I think we all agree that the right to our own property is a right that we enjoy. The right to your own home, the right to land that you hold title to is a right that one must all respect. Since the 1960s, the encroachment on private land and on government land that has occurred by way of mass immigration into Mumbai has led to the creation of slums. These slums, trust me as a developer, I tell you, are not something that I would go and put onto a piece of land, because we know the problems that we go through to execute one slum rehabilitation project. We know the blackmailing that occurs, we know the violence that occurs, we know the media circus that occurs around it, and I have one simple question to ask you all. Is it really in the interest of the city that these slums continue, or is it in the interest of the city that these slums get developed? Unfortunately, the fait accompli that this city has been presented with is that hundreds of thousands of slum structures are on the coast. Now, I have a simple question. Would we prefer to leave these slums where they are? Or would we like to see them removed by some means or another? Today, the way environmental norms and CRZ norms specifically have prevented slum rehabilitation projects from going through in coastal, in that 500-meter band is utterly ridiculous. I have situations where a slum exists on the landward side of a major arterial road. The landward side of a major arterial road. In fact, on the other side of a nala after the road. But it is within 500 meters. CRZ, 3310 doesn't apply. You'll get only 1.66. Okay, project is not feasible. Those 600 slum dwellers will never get a home, and that neighborhood will never be developed. It will always be considered to be an inferior neighborhood because there are slum dwellers living there. Fine, let's leave the city in the state that it's in. So my point overall is that I have read the CRZ notification, by the way, cover to cover. Cover to cover, not once but 10 times. I followed the CRZ notification of 2011 as it was being drafted. The fact that Mumbai has finally been recognized as a unique situation is the one saving grace in this notification today. The fact that a regulation is applied uniformly across the city without understanding the specificities of a situation of a particular city is ridiculous. Now, what is the future? And I think I'll end on that. We need a complete overhaul. From the perspective of environmental impact, from the perspective of the protection of the coastal zone, regulations need to be drafted for the nation as guidelines and as frameworks. Specific regulations need to be framed by local town and country planning norms and by those bodies that are responsible for those areas. And cities need to be treated differently. Cities are cities. Human beings are still human beings, and human beings do come first. 21 million Indians have chosen to make Mumbai their home. We cannot forget those 21 million Indians for the 8 mangrove plants that exist on a particular plot. 21 million Indians have chosen to make this city their home. Their development, the provision of basic infrastructure, the provision of homes, the provision of roads is the priority. Let's get that very, very clear. Today, that is the position that we are in. Wherever there are existing green areas, 100% protect them. 100% do not allow new construction to occur there. Nobody will stop you and nobody will be against that. But to take a situation where an existing city exists and say now we are going to somehow retard its continuing improvement and development is absolutely unacceptable. And just for all of you all to go back with one example that we perhaps should be comparing ourselves to, I'm sure at some point or another we've all either visited or heard of or seen pictures of the city of New York. Mr. Stalin showed us a picture of the 7 islands of Mumbai from the 19th century. So I'm a historian, by the way, so I understand the development of Mumbai and why these islands are utterly and totally irrelevant to us today. The fact of the matter is, by the time we've all woken up and the world has woken up to environmental conditions, these 7 islands had already become one. The fact of the matter is, by that time, these 7 islands had already become a major population center. So the fact that they ought to have been CRZ1 in the year 1893 is irrelevant because CRZ1 did not exist in 1893. The city of New York has developed along very similar lines to Mumbai. It is an island, the island of Manhattan, with 5 surrounding boroughs, just like Mumbai. I would honestly like to invite the entire bureaucratic body of Mumbai to take a trip to New York and just walk along the shoreline. The Hudson River crosses on both sides of Manhattan. There is a seawall constructed from the length and breadth of New York so that the inundation of beaches doesn't happen because there are no beaches. Because the priority is the development of Manhattan as an urban center, not the protection of beaches in the middle of Manhattan. A seawall has been constructed, number one. Number two, the development goes till the edge of that seawall. You know what exists between the last building or the last row of buildings and the river over there? One running track. And 2 major coastal highways run along the length and breadth of New York on both sides to improve connectivity. And subways. Why does this not act as a model for us? What are the, FSI. What is the FSI in New York City today? Does anyone have a guess? What is the FSI, our favorite word in Mumbai today? What is the FSI in New York City? 14. The FSI is 14. We have 4x the population, our FSI is 1.33. And maybe 2 in the suburbs. What are the open space requirements in New York City? The buildings are touching each other. You cannot even slide a piece of paper in between 2 buildings. So just to end up on this, my point is that we need to learn from the best. We need to take examples of other coastal cities, and we need to make sure that the development of Mumbai is prioritized, and environmental norms should not be used as simple tools of blackmail and tools of the retardation of development.